Yo guys, how's it going? AK Moto here. Today we are installing this FMF onto my 2021 YZ250F. Now that's actually not going to be the focus of this video. Today we're going to be focusing on this little heat shield here on the silencer portion of the pipe. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to install it and kind of how it looks installed. And I'm sure most of you guys who are going to be buying this have already seen these on the Star Racing Yamaha bikes. Now this isn't the exact identical part. The part that they have on the Star Racing bikes is actually welded onto the silencer. This one will be held on by one clamp and two pre-existing screws on the silencer. But here I'm going to be showing you guys how to install this. Now something you want to keep in mind is with this heat shield here from FMF, this little titanium silencer guard here, this does replace a plastic portion of your side panel right here. This piece that says Yamaha Lube, we're going to be cutting this off. So if you don't really want to do any cutting, your side panels might not want to get this guard. But as you guys can see here, my side panel is starting to get a little bit torn up, and this is only going to get worse as I get more and more hours on the bike. So I personally am going to be a pretty big fan of installing this heat shield just purely because it gives us a little bit more space there on that side of the bike. And yeah, as you guys can see, our side panel is getting pretty torn up anyway. So we're going to have to cut this off. But before we worry about that, here let's actually worry about getting it mounted onto our silencer. Now you can do this with the silencer on and off the bike, but here I'm going to be showing you guys for demonstrations purposes the whole process with the silencer off the bike. And this only works with FMF exhaust systems. I'm pretty sure most of you guys understand that. So let's get right into this. Alright guys, so first things first, we have two small T27 torque screws that we're going to remove here. I'm just going to zap these on out with our impacts. And because we're installing this heat shield, we don't really need this piece right here because we're not going to have that plastic piece there. Here we're going to get our new heat shield lined up with these holes. I'm going to reinstall these bolts with a little bit of medium strength thread locker, and we want to be very, very careful not to strip out these threads, guys, because these threads will be very, very easy to strip out as it's just threading directly into the silencer. So here we're just going to get a little medium strength thread locker on the bolts. Here we're just going to snug them down by hand. Now here we're towards the front of the heat shield, and we're going to install the provided clamp. Definitely isn't the prettiest way to mount, but yeah, I guess this is the easiest way FMF found that most people will be able to do easily at home. But anyway, yeah, so here we're going to install this clamp. It'll go right underneath the heat shield and just around the front of the silencer, kind of like this. Now here, before I really start tightening on this clamp, I'm going to snug these two T27 Torx bolts down here towards the front of the guard. And again, these two bolts are going to be really easy to strip out. So I'm just going to run them down really far by hand. Again, we have that Loctite in there, so we don't need to go too crazy at all. So I'm just going to get them as snug as I can by hand with our Torx sockets. Then using a 1/4 inch ratchet, I'm just barely going to give these a quarter turn. Again, really don't want to strip these out. So just a tiny little bit of a turn. That's it. Not even a quarter turn. And now we're just going to snug this clamp here the rest of the way down. We don't need this to be too tight. The guard naturally kind of sits a little off of the exhaust, and that's on purpose. They're not going to put the guard directly against the exhaust. It kind of lays slightly away from the silencer here. So we're just going to get this clamp snug. No reason to really cinch down on it. Alright guys, so we have our guard all mounted up. Two T27 screws Loctited and snugged up. We have this clamp on here snugged up and good to go, so that's it, looking pretty good. Here I'm going to go in and trim this piece off of our side panel. I may even be able to just straight up disconnect it if I mess with these little guys over here. They look like kind of plastic rivets. So I'm going to mess with those, see if I can just disconnect it. If not, I'll take a little grinder wheel with a Dremel, or a Dremel with a grinder wheel, and cut it off. But I think I might be able to just grind off these little plastic rivets and simply disconnect, if you will, this piece right here. Alright guys, so here you can kind of see what I'm doing. All I'm doing is getting a little sandpaper bit on a little Dremel tool and just filing down these little, I'm not sure what you call these, but basically the plastic manufacturer put these two cylinders together and basically melted them together to make this one piece. But here you can see as I lift up on this piece, it comes off So here we're just grinding off a couple millimeters off the top of each of these little plastic pieces right here. I really don't know what to call these, what the technical term would be. You could use a file, but here the Dremel just makes this a lot easier. But we're just going to file a couple more millimeters off these ones here that are melted in place. You can see I already did these ones, and they're separating already. So let's get these three done real quick, and then yeah, pretty clean and simple way to do this. Don't really have to cut anything. Here, I hope you guys can see what I was talking about a little better, but basically, you see there's little holes and little plastic dowels. They fit together like this, and then they're melted together at the top, so as long as you shave a couple millimeters at the top of each one, you can simply disconnect that just like this. Super clean, no cut marks whatsoever. Win in my book. And that's pretty much it, guys. Now we can go ahead and mount the silencer onto the bike and mount this side panel onto the bike like normal. Of course, there's going to be one bolt that we're not going to need to install anymore because there won't be a plastic guard. But yeah, that's pretty much all, guys. Here I'm going to get this silencer mounted up and show you guys a little bit of a finished final product end result type of thing. Let's get this silencer on the bike.